Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, more and more German automotive experts are starting to understand the trouble that the German automakers are in. And another big article about the trouble was written in the German Handelsblatt. It is not just Tesla that is outperforming them in Germany as the best-selling EV brand in the country, and the Tesla Berlin factory is hardly moving compared to what will happen in 2023. So that is only going to get worse for the Germans in Germany. A place where the German automakers has been doing very well with their ICE vehicle is China, and we all know that is the biggest car market on the planet, so a very big portion of their sales comes from China. But the Germans are getting absolutely punished in China, and at the same time the Chinese are also coming for the Germans on their home turf in Europe with luxury and affordable vehicles. The Germans are getting hit from all sides and at the same time having huge problem internally. So I would like to go through this article from Germany, and I will make a few corrections in the article just so you know, as they got a few things wrong about price and other stuff. But this is an article coming out of Germany about the German automakers being punished. So while you let that one sink in, let's dive right in. So, of all things, German car makers are currently being shown up by a little Chinese startup in their core discipline. The company is called Human Horizon and is redefining the premium segment with the Hi-Pi X. The futuristic model with gull-wing doors that can adjust the seat in all directions and programmable LED pixel lights, no handles whatsoever, and is one of the best sellers in China for luxury models, with a price tag equivalent to about $120,000 or about $800,000 RMB. So an expensive car, but just look at it. This is a high-tech car, the kind of luxury that the Chinese people are after. And even though 800,000 RMBs or $120,000 sounds like a lot, well, compared to Mercedes EQS, which it is in direct competition with, cost 956,000 RMB or around $133,000. And get this, this is after Mercedes' eye-watering price cut of almost $33,000, and it's still about $13,000 more expensive than the Hi-Pi. So no wonder Mercedes did have huge problems selling these things in China, as Mercedes has set the price way too high, about $46,000 higher than the Chinese counterpart. Hi-Pi was able to deliver a good 3,800 vehicles in the Far East from January to September. That may not sound like much, but neither Porsche Taycan or the Mercedes EQS, which represent something like the spearhead of the German electric engineering, achieved similar sales in the world's largest passenger car market. The Germans have perfected their business with luxury cars. In the world of combustion engines, they were almost free of competition, says Jan Burgard, CEO of Virals Group's consultancy. In the electric car, they are now getting real competition in China from local suppliers like Hi-Pi. Managers at domestic auto centers in Munich, Stuttgart and Wolfsburg are getting nervous. Developers at Mercedes, for example, have been systematically testing and disassembling top Chinese models such as the Hi-Pi X. The engineers' verdict: the Chinese are in some cases more daring, creative and innovative in the electric car than established manufacturers from the West. There's an avalanche rolling toward us. And the Chinese score points with tech experience. One thing is clear: in the course of the powertrain transition, the balance of power is shifting. Tesla was only the warning. proud domestic brand like Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes, BMW are in danger of becoming the big losers. This is because the Germans are not only coming under pressure in the very top of the premium league in battery car business, but in almost all segment and vehicle classes. This is shown by alarming figures in China. Of almost 3.6 million pure electric BEVs sold in China, after 9 months in the current year, only an estimated 150,000 units come from the German brands. Maybe a little bit more, but thereabout. Local suppliers such as BYD, GAC, Li Auto, and NIO, and many others dominate the market, including Tesla, I might add, that is already doing well in China and Europe and completely dominating in the US. And even worse than the sluggish sales of the Germans is that customers in China are not willing to accept a premium price for the European premium electric cars, unlike for the internal combustion vehicles. Mercedes, for example, recently had to reduce their listed price for the two electric sedans EQE and EQS by the equivalent of up to $33,000. Munich rival BMW, meanwhile, is apparently forced to offer a 30% discount on the electric 3 Series, which is only available in China, in order to find interested buyers, according to local media reports. Ouch. When it comes to pricing policy, the German automakers have obviously miscalculated, says Daniel Rüska, automotive expert at Asset Management Alliance Bernstein. The capital market expert sees Volkswagen Group, Mercedes and BMW in a difficult position in China. Their brand strength in combustion engines, which has existed for over 100 years, cannot be transferred one-to-one to the electric drive. With electric cars, he says, brand history plays a smaller role, so new competitors can establish themselves much more easily. Western manufacturers have underestimated that. And they can't undercut them on price or beat them in production volume either, I might add. And I might also add that we do see a great example of this in Norway, where FAW have launched their Hongui EHS9. Yes, you might not even have heard of this. This is not a brand strong car company, but that is a very big SUV that is not very cheap, but in Norway it has a starting price of what is equivalent to just above $60,000. I have just seen this car at the e-car expo in Göteborg, and it was actually a very nice luxury EV if you are into these huge SUVs. And the Mercedes EQS SUV, that would be Mercedes' answer to this car, cost the equivalent of $110,000 in Norway, almost twice the price. But of course, it is a Mercedes against a little Chinese car. Well, firstly, I have been sitting in this one and can tell you this feels very nice and great build quality and all, and just felt very high tech. I felt more excited checking this car out than I did when I checked out the EQS. And the Mercedes brand cannot handle double the price tag, which clearly shows in Norway. They are already all in on EVs in Norway, as we all know, and the Mercedes EQS has been in Norway since August 2021, and the EHS9 has been out 2 months less, from October 2021, but the big branded Mercedes EQS has only sold 414 units here in all of 2022, while the unknown EHS9 has sold 1,311, more than 3 times the German giant. I don't think we get a much better showcase of what is going on here. And one of the big problems the Germans have is of course the lack of experience in software, as they continue in Handelsblatt about the trouble the Germans are facing in China, not least because their software and electronics platform are not organized centrally enough to be fully competitive. This is a serious problem. After all, good infotainment system and digital service are key arguments for or against purchasing a model in China. Chinese customers also decide against the German makers when buying an electric car because, for example, their voice recognition system cannot reliably recognize a verbal input in Mandarin from the rear seat, said Barrel's CEO Burgard. Even when it comes to the classic virtue such as manufacturing quality, Chinese suppliers like BYD are now on par with Western manufacturers like Audi. Maybe not on all parts, but we get their point. This feeds the pride of the Chinese in their own vehicle manufacturers. They no longer feel second class when they buy a Chinese brand, Burgard says. Nevertheless, the Asians currently have two decisive advantages when it comes to electric cars. They are able to deliver, and they are offering comparatively inexpensive models. On the one hand, this is made possible by the fact that the Chinese manufacturers are able to ramp up production more quickly after the COVID lockdown, which led to a buildup of inventories. On the other hand, many companies have strategically entered the metals and mining sector in recent years. That allows them to better hedge against volatility, says Phoebe O'Hara, an auto expert at Fitch Solutions. And the swings on the metal exchange are high. The price of a ton of lithium carbonate alone has more than doubled in a year to nearly $80,000. Yes, exactly. This is where both the Chinese and Tesla are very well prepared, and the Germans seem to just try to rely on their brand value. Many Chinese manufacturers also have far fewer problems with the supply of semiconductor than the Germans, who are unable to produce due to lack of parts. As a result, the Germans are missing tens of thousands of vehicles every month. But the weakness of the German auto industry has also quite a mundane reason. When it comes to the electric car, some of the traditional manufacturers still have gaps in their portfolio, state Burgard, especially in the lower segment. Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes lack a competitive offering. That's a bitter pill to swallow because small cars and compact vehicles are the fastest growing segment for electric vehicles in China. But I might add some context here, because this is of course the thinking of an automotive expert, because Tesla is selling all the models they are making, and they don't have an affordable model either, but they just have a very good model at the right price in its segment with great software. So the Germans don't need more models, but need to make more compelling electric vehicles with more high-tech stuff. Tesla just grew their wholesales in China by almost 90% compared to the same month last year in November. So Tesla is not having trouble, even though they only have 4 models in China, and they are all in the premium segment. But the problem is the Germans are being beaten on all their segments they're in. So that is the real trouble. So the Germans are trying to come with more models. The Volkswagen doesn't have their new better Trinity platform. They are delaying until the end of the decade. So they are just trying to revamp the ID family with the technology they have. I personally don't think this will work very well. But despite the effort, however, the German remains at best fast followers in Chinese electric market, says Burgard. In some cases, they are simply too late. Important subsidies are expected to expire by the end of 2023. In order to still take advantage of them, Chinese buyers often options for national brands, as they can usually deliver faster. Or Tesla, of course. In the short term, the Germans can hardly react to the headwinds in China, Bernstein analyst Riska also explained. The technical problem of the domestic manufacturer would only be resolved with a new vehicle and software platform from 2024. At Volkswagen, it is likely to take even longer. Ruska predicts models like the Porsche Macan are 24 months late. Yes, and Volkswagen has delayed their Trinity platform and factory that should build this new car until maybe 2030. So they are more than just late. They are going to show up when the party is over. They simply can't react fast enough. As they write in this article, the problem is Volkswagen's software subsidiary Carrot. As a result, Porsche will continue to be able to only offer the Taycan as a fully electric model. The situation at Audi is hardly any better. The successor to the A8 will not only be delayed on the road, it will not be able to drive fully autonomously when it is launched in 2026, unlike originally planned. Boy, if that had been Tesla, they would have been slaughtered in the mainstream media, but I hardly think this will get any notice in the mainstream media whatsoever. But Stefan Bartel, head of the Center of Automotive Management, said competition around the e-mobility is becoming increasingly intense. In his view, new Chinese suppliers such as BYD, NIO, XPeng are operating on par with Western manufacture in terms of innovations. Now they're even increasingly attacking the Germans in Europe. However, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes are not defenseless against the attack of the upcoming Chinese brand, neither in the Far East or in Europe. In China, the Germans should be open to new local tech supplier, recommend Berl's CEO Bugard. Then the voice recognition problem could also be fixed quickly. But I personally think this is exactly the problem. They can't react this quickly. They just don't know how to. But as they say in the article, the Germans have one advantage, and that is great experience in customer service. And that is true. The new startups still have to show their customer service is up to the task, but we have seen customers getting screwed by the old guys too. Like here in Denmark when Volkswagen pushed out the unfinished ID3 that they didn't know how to fix, so they were forced to take back some of their ID3s. That is definitely not great customer service. So if you don't make a great EV that your dealers actually know how to fix, you also have a problem, and that will result in bad customer service as well. They do have great customer service in the ICE business, but again, they have to get new staff or teach the staff how to do great customer service when it comes to EVs, because it's all about fixing the problems that occurs. But yet another long article from the German automotive expert pointing out the obvious problems the German automakers are facing and getting hit from all sides at the same time and cannot move fast enough to even react to all of this headwind they're facing. Yes, there is truly an avalanche rolling towards them.
And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.